So unfortunately, all of the HTML we've written so far is technically invalid. Well, the document itself is invalid. These are correct tags and we're using them in the right way, but the overall document is flawed. We are missing some essential structure that is supposed to be there for every HTML document. If we look at any web page, our trusty Wikipedia chicken entry, in the Inspector tab of the Chrome DevTools, you'll see that we have this HTML element opening and closing, then a head, and then a body. We need to talk about what these are and add these elements to every document we create. So in this video, we're talking about this HTML skeleton. People also refer to this as boilerplate. It's standardized markup that needs to go in every document you create, every single HTML page. So even though our browser is letting us slide without it, we need to have it. Okay, so I'm going to step through it one piece at a time. The very first thing you'll see here at the top is this weird exclamation point doc type HTML. This is an important piece, but we're not going to go into a lot of detail right now. Think of it as a flag to your browser that indicates we're using HTML5. Now, we haven't talked about what exactly HTML5 is. That is something we'll cover when we talk about semantic HTML. But it's basically saying I want to use the latest features in HTML. So we put that at the very beginning. So I'm going to add that here. You can see it actually gives me a suggestion, VS Code does. So if I want that, I can just hit enter, or I could type that all out myself, although honestly I rarely do type it out. So we're not going to see a difference at all right now. If I tried to run this or refresh the page, nothing really changes. Next up, we need to add in our HTML element. So we could read about this element on MDN. The HTML element, also called the root element, represents the entire top level element of our document. So everything else on our page, every other element is supposed to be a descendant of this element. So it's pretty simple. We can just add our HTML opening and closing tag, or like always, you can do this, HTML tab, and then everything should go in here. So doc type is weird. It does not have a closing tag. It's just a flag. It's a thing that says, hey, this is HTML5. But everything else that we're going to see right now has an opening and closing tag. So HTML. Then we don't just put our code inside of that. If we actually read the docs on MDN, there's this one little point that says permitted content, or permitted, whatever. One head element followed by one body element. So if we go back to Wikipedia here and we inspect, here's our HTML element, one head, one body. So these are always going to be there for us. Let's start with what the head is. The head, also called the document metadata element, contains basically things that don't show up on the page. So not any of these elements that we've created so far. None of these go in the head. Instead, it's all metadata, information about your web page, any scripts that you're loading. Once we get to CSS, this is where we'll include our style sheets and our CSS. So nothing that actually shows up in the document itself. It's all meta information. So we're going to add that in right here inside of our HTML element head, just like that. Okay? You don't have to indent or anything like that. I like to, but you'll see some people who just do it all like this. Anyway, we have our head, and we don't really have a lot that goes in there yet. Eventually, we'll learn how to include CSS and JavaScript and different fonts and icons and other assets that we need to do or we need to include in the head. For now, I'm going to show you one other thing, which is the title element. So the title element is going to define the title of our document, which is not, it might not be what you're expecting. You might think this is the title of a page or this is the title. That is not the case. The title element is actually going to change what we see displayed in the tab in our browser, and it's also used by websites like Google. When we search Google, if I just search for MDN title, notice right here what this link says, title-html : blah, 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 blah. If I click that, that is the exact title we see specified in the tab here. So Google uses that title element. It looks for that element in the head, and it uses that to create the links in the search results. So the title is an important element that you should have on every page. Right now, if we don't have it, it just defaults in this case to chickens.html, the name of our file. But we should come up with something. It could even just be chickens. Let's see what Wikipedia does. Yep, chicken-Wikipedia. So why don't we do chicken-, I'm going to go with Cultipedia, but you can call this whatever you want there. Let's see. Refresh. There we go. There is our title. So it doesn't show up in the page itself. It shows up in the browser, but not in the page. That is the title. It should be on every single document that you create inside of the head, inside of the HTML elements. Then we get to the second piece that goes inside of an HTML element, which is the body. So we have one head and one body. And the body represents all of the content of our document. There can only be one, and it includes, or it can include, any of the elements we've learned so far. It's where we would put everything we've typed. So our H1, our paragraphs, everything. If we go look at Wikipedia, expand the body, this is all of the content of the page. All of the text, all of the sidebar, all of the navbar, everything is in the body. So I'm going to add that in here below the head. Once again, I can type it out, or I can just type body tab, same thing. Then I'm just going to cut all of my content right there and put it inside of the body. Perfect. All right. So I could indent this and make it look nice. I'm actually going to show you a trick in the next video, but it doesn't really matter right now. This is valid HTML at this point. And if I refresh my page, everything looks exactly the same. But if we inspect, we see now that we've got our HTML, our head, and our body. We've got our title showing up. And this is something you'll do for every single page you create. In fact, it's done so often that there's a shortcut to generate this basic skeleton, this boilerplate, inside of VS Code. If I just cut all of this out for a moment, if I type exclamation point and hit tab, look at what it gives me. Doc type, it gives me HTML, my head, my title, my body. Yes, it also gives us these meta tags we have not discussed, and it also gives us this language English thing. Don't worry about that for now. It's not going to hurt. It's good to have. So you can access that once again, just exclamation point tab anytime you're in an HTML document. So that's not going to work in a JavaScript document or something. But it's a very nice shortcut anytime you open up or create a new HTML document. All right, so that's our basic document structure. We will always follow that. You'll get lots of practice.